Okay, DPs, this is the solution to this exam question, which is worth 6 marks and was on one of the ed puzzles. So we are given this triangular base pyramid. AC is 28.4. This side is x. This is 2 more. We're told that the angle ABC is 0.667 and angle BAD, this one here, BAD is 0.611, and we have to find the length of AD. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm looking at this triangle on the front. I've redrawn it here, ABC, and I'm going to use the cosine rule because I've got all 3 sides and I've got the angle in between these two. Okay, so I'm going to set that up. So I've got 28.4 squared is equal to x squared plus x plus 2 squared minus 2 times x plus 2 times cos of the angle in between those, which is 0.667. Okay, that is just using the cosine rule, where these are the 2 sides, angle in between, and essentially this is the side that we're working out that it equals. Okay, but we're going to solve this for x. So first thing I'm going to do is to expand all my stuff on the right hand side. So I've got x squared. If I take x plus 2 squared and expand that, I'm going to get x squared plus 4x plus 4. Okay, that's just using the smiley face method. Okay, and we have to be careful when we're expanding this next part. I'm going to do it in a couple of steps. The first thing I'm going to do is to stick down my subtract, and I'm going to expand this stuff. So 2x times x is 2x squared, 2x times 2 is 4x. And that is being multiplied by cos of 0.667, which of course is just the number, okay? So let's keep going. I've got x squared plus x squared. Let's just combine those now. 2x squared. Got plus 4x plus 4. Okay, let's now expand out this times this. Okay, I've got my TI-84. No, I don't want full screen, thank you. So 2 times. Now make sure your calculator is in radians. To do that on your TI, yep, make sure it's on radians. This is 2 times cos of 0.667, 1.57. So, and that is subtract 1.57. Oops, let's use a different color. Subtract 1.57, that is x squared. Okay, now I have to do cos of 0.667 multiplied by this. So 4 times cos of 0.667, 3.14. And again, it's going to be subtract 3.14x. Okay, it's subtract because I've got we're subtracting all of this. Okay, so I'm subtracting all of this. Okay, now we can keep tidying up. I've got 28.4 here squared minus, now I've got 2x squared minus 1.57x squared. So I'm going to do 2 minus all of this answer. I'm going to use the whole thing. So 0.43. 0.43x squared 4x, and I'm subtracting 3.14x. So 4 subtract 3.14. Nope. 4 subtract 3.14. So 0.857. And then I've got my plus 4. And now this is obviously a quadratic. In order to solve a quadratic, I need to make it equal 0, okay, because the aim in this is to find out what this value of x is. So I'm going to subtract off from both sides 28.4 squared. So on this side I've got 0. On this side I have got this lovely looking quadratic formula. Get my x in there, 857x, and let's do our 4 subtract 28.4 squared minus 80256. Okay, so important things to note here. This is a non-calculator paper. Okay, it's a non-calculator paper, so that means that these numbers can not very nice. Okay, if this was a calculator, sorry, this is a calculator paper. Okay, sorry about that. This is a calculator paper, which means these numbers do not have to be very nice because we can use our calculator to solve this for x. If this was a non-calculator paper, more often than not, these numbers would be whole numbers, and you would most likely be able to factorize it. Okay, they're not going to give you something with really nasty numbers like this in a non-calculator paper because they assume you know how to use the quadratic formula. Okay, there's no point testing something like this when they could test something more difficult. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. So in order to solve this using a calculator, because it is a calculator exam, we're not going to use a quadratic formula or anything like that. We're going to use our calculator. Now, I'm going to do it on the TI-84 and on the Inspire. So on your calculator, you go to Apps, and you go down to Polysmelt. Okay, you hit Enter. And you can see here there's other things. There's simultaneous equation solver, polynomial root finder, which is what we're going to use. So hit enter. This is an order 2 because it's an x squared. You want real answers. You don't need to worry about these other things. Doesn't matter about radians or degrees either. Now, in order to hit next, okay, if you can imagine, the screen is above the calculator here. So the next button is underneath the green graph button, okay? So I'm going to put the numbers in. So 0.4, 0.43, enter, and I want plus, enter, 0.857, enter, and now I want to subtract, enter, 802.56, enter. So we've got everything in, and then I need to solve it, which again is over on this side, and I get these numbers. So we get x equals, how nice is that? It just does it for you. Don't need to worry about the quadratic formula or anything like that. 42.2, and I also get x is equal to negative 44.2. Now it can't be this one because the lengths, it's it's a length, it can't be negative. So the value of x is 42.2. Okay, now on the inspire, you can do it as follows. Okay, so you should have this screen up. You want to go to menu, and we want to add calculator, and then we want to go to menu and go down to algebra, hit enter. We're going to go down to polynomial tools, and then the very first one, find roots of polynomial. Again, it's degree 2. We want real roots, and we just put our numbers in, 0.43, 0.857, and the last one, it's negative 802.55. That is correct, isn't it? 0.56. Okay, then you hit OK. And it brings this up, you hit enter, and it gives you the same answers out. Okay, so dead easy on the Inspire as well. Make sure you know how to do that. It will more than likely be on your exam for standard level. Right, so we now have our value of x. We just need to now work out the last part. Sorry. Okay, so we now have this value. This is 42.2. And I need to work out AD. I need this length. Okay. So let's redraw this triangle down here, just to make it easier to see. And how do I flip this? Okay, so here we have A, D, B. We've worked out AB, which is 42.2. We know this is a right angle, and we know that the angle BAD is 0.611 from the question. We need to work out this length AD. And okay, so this is what we want to work out. This is what we know. We've got a right angle triangle. We're going to use SOHCAHTOA. Okay, so you've done the hard work. This is the hypotenuse. This side would be the opposite, because it's opposite the angle. This is the adjacent. We're going to use cos. Okay, so I've just moved my triangle down here, just to make it easier. So we want it all clumped up. Okay, so cos of the angle, 0.611, is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse, adjacent, which is AD, over hypotenuse, which is 42.2. AD is what I want to work out. So how do I get rid of the dividing by 42.2? Well, I multiply both sides by 42.2. And that will give me the value of AD. So let's do it. And I need to go back into the normal screen. Up. Okay. 42.2 multiplied by cos of 0.611. And we're still in radians. Too many ones in there. There we go. 34 point, and to the 3 sig figs, 34.6. And that is the length of AD, which is what they want. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Ask me any questions if you've got them. It's Not particularly, it's tricky, yes, I'll give you that, but it's a question of being able to use your calculator. Let me just quickly, before I go, show you the actual solutions from IB. Okay, so just to point out a couple of things, it's 6 marks. Remember, M stands for method, so your first mark is a method mark, and all you have to do is show any evidence of using cosine rule. So even if you used the cosine rule and used it wrong, doesn't matter. As long as there's any evidence of using it, you get a mark. Correct substitution when you're using the cosine rule. So you've used the cosine rule and you've correctly substituted the values in. So if they see this line, you would get the answer mark, okay? So even if this is the only thing you would write down, you get 1 for method, 1 for an answer. And it gives you an example of what it's talking about. Excuse me. So like this. Then you get 2 marks for actually solving this, okay, to get the length of x. All right, and that is just, remember, using the calculator, or doing your algebra first, getting it into a quadratic, and then using your calc to solve it. And then your approach to find AD, again, this is a method mark, so this is just using trig. So here we go, and then you get 1 mark for your answer. Okay, so 2 method marks and 2, 3, 4 answer marks, as they're called. And N3, what this means is if you were just to write down the answer, N means no working, and you would only be awarded 3 marks. Okay, hopefully that's helpful. I think it's good that you do consider these mark schemes to see where these marks are coming from and how examiners actually go about marking. This is the only thing they would be given to mark your work. Okay, get back to me if you've got any questions on any of this, and please review this because you never know, there may be something on like this on your end of year exam.